Hello, my dear students and my dear friends. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to lesson for you, dear friends. Sorry for being late for about 1 or 2 weeks because I was facing some difficulties. I had some pathologies and facing a fever. Now a little bit recovered. So we were discussing about the structure of the cell and some lectures that we have recorded about the structure of the cell membrane in a big detail, the composition of the cytoplasm. Then we discussed about nucleus, and in the lectures before we have discussed about the nuclear membrane and all its structures. Now in this lecture I am going to discuss about this rounded structure, and this structure, as you know that I had told you, this is called the nucleolus, right? So right now we are discussing about the nucleolus. So let us start our lecture regarding nucleolus. So nucleolus means small nucleus, right? Nucleolus means small nucleus, small nucleus, or we can also say that nucleolus means nucleus within nucleus, nucleus within nucleus. What does it mean? It means that inside our nucleus we have another small nucleus, right? So this is the very important part of this nucleus, and this is called the nucleolus. So we will see the structure and composition of it in detail. So first of all, let me draw the nucleus here, right? This is the nucleus, and you know that inside our nucleus we have the chromosomes or the genetic materials, right? So how this nucleolus is formed, you should concentrate here. Look carefully. We have certain chromosomes, right? If this is the centromere, right, and this is the long arm of a chromosome, and this is the short arm of another of the same chromosome, right? Like this. So let me first of all clear your concept of how the nucleolus is formed, right? Then here is here will be another chromosome, right? This is its long arm, and then this is the centromere, and then there is the short arm, right, like this, right? And then there will be other chromosomes also. So there are 5 chromosomes, about 5 chromosomes which make the nucleolus. So look carefully, friends. Inside this chromosome, you know that we have the called DNA, right? This is our genetic material, or we say DNA. So inside this short arm there is also DNA, right? So as you can see here that in this chromosome there is a constriction, right, which makes the centromere. And on the short arm, look, this is the short arm and this is the long arm. So let me mention it here, long arm, this is the short arm. So on certain chromosomes, which I will mention later, in the short arms of certain chromosomes there are some extra constrictions, right? You can see here there are constrictions, right? The chromosomes have become like this, right? And here we have our centromere, and this is the long arm of the chromosome. So the first constriction is present here, which makes up the centromere, and the second constriction in the short arms of such chromosomes are here, right? So these special areas, these two special areas, I mean this area, right, it contains DNA, as you know, and this long arm also contains DNA. From these constrictions the DNA comes out a little bit outward like this, right, from this chromosome and from that chromosome also. So this DNA comes out like this, and from here also the DNA comes out like this, right? So look carefully, the DNA from these chromosomes have come out, and they have made, the DNA has made a rounded structure here, right? And this rounded structure which is made by the outcoming DNA, right, this rounded structure is called the nucleolus. Nucleolus. So nucleolus is formed by what? Nucleolus is itself a DNA, right? it is nothing but DNA, and with the DNA it contains some fibers, it contains some RNA, and it contains some proteins also. So we will see the structure later. So I just told you that how the nucleolus is formed, right? So from the short arms of certain chromosomes, which I will mention later, the DNA comes out and make a rounded structure there, right, inside the nucleus, and that rounded structure which is formed is called the nucleolus, right? So let us define the nucleolus. Nucleolus is a small dense means it contains lots of fibers and lots of RNAs and lots of proteins and lots of DNA, ribosomal DNA, right? So nucleolus is a small dense spherical structure present in the nucleus. So a small dense spherical structure right present in nucleus. So it is situated in the nucleus, right? This is the definition. Why? It is a small rounded or spherical and dense. Dense means it contains lots of substances. We will see in the structure later, right? Present in the nucleus. Okay, then what we can say there about it? What is the who discovered the this nucleolus discovery? Right. So there was a scientist whose name was Felix Fontana. Right. It was discovered by Felix Fontana. Right. In 1731. Nucleolus was discovered in 1781. Yeah, it was discovered in 1781 by Felix Fontana. He was the person who discovered the nucleolus for the first time and who coined the name nucleolus to it. Who named it nucleolus, right? Who named it? So there was another scientist whose name was Gabriel Guster Valentine. Gabriel Guster Valentine. Right? So nucleolus was named as Gabriel Guster Valentine in 1831. 1831. So nucleolus got its name in 1839. I'm sorry, 1839. Right, friends? Then we say that what is the size of this nucleolus? The size of nucleolus. So nucleolus may be very small or it may be a little bit larger. So its size may vary from 1 micrometer to 10 micrometer. Its size can be very small or a little bit larger, right? So like this. It's not a micrometer, so I'm just showing you that it may be 1 micrometer or it may be 10 micrometers. So this can be its size. Then what is its location? Where is the nucleolus present? Location. So it is, as you can see, that nucleolus is always present in the nucleus. So it is located inside the nucleus, right? What is the number of nucleolus? How many nucleoli can be found in a cell? We are talking about the human cell. So we say that how many number of nucleoli can be present. So inside the human cell, there can be 10 nucleoli, right? So we say that its number vary. I'm writing a word vary. Vary means in some cells it has 1 nucleoli, in some cells there may be 5 nucleoli, and in some cells there may be 10. So in human body there are about 10 nucleoli. Nucleoli inside our cells we have. Right, this is its number. Then what is the shape of the nucleolus? Shape. So its shape varies, right? In some cells it may be rounded, in some cells it may be spherical, ring shape, reticulated, right? So some cells have a spherical nucleolus, some cells have a ring shape, some cells have reticulated, nucleolus, right? And some cells can also have compact nucleolus, compact. So it has different shapes, right? So there may be spherical, ring shape, reticulated shape, and the compact shape, right? Then what is the volume of nucleolus? How much space does it cover inside your nucleus, right? So we say that 25% of the nucleus, right, inside the nucleus, about from 100%, 25% of the nucleus is obtained by the nucleolus, right? So this is its volume. And then what is the color of the nucleolus? So when the nucleolus was stained, it had got dark color, right? So its color will be dark. Okay, then if we move towards its structure and we explain the structure of the nucleolus, so let's do that. Structure. First of all, nucleolus is a non-membranous organelle of the nucleus, right? Let me draw its diagram here. Right. So our nucleolus appears something like this. It appears somewhat like this. Like this, right? So you can see here, this is not a membrane, right? This is a part of that nucleolus, right? So it appears under the microscope, it appears like this, and it contains some granular region, right? Here are some granules. Then it contains some fibrillar region, right? Let me it contains some fibrillar regions, right? And then they also contain some dense regions, right? So nucleolus is composed of three important regions, right? It contains the fibrillar region, the dense region, right? So first of all, let me write here that nucleolus is a non-membranous structure. First I will write here, it is a non-membranous. It means that it is not surrounded by a membrane. It is a non-membranous structure, right? Then what we can say? We say that it is composed of what? It is composed of, let me write here. It is composed of DNA. You can see here. The DNA was extended and was making the nucleolus. So it is made up of DNA. It is made up of ribosomal DNA, right? The DNA which is going out and making the nucleolus, actually this nucleolus is mostly responsible to make the ribosomes, right? So we say that this nucleolus contains DNA, but that DNA which is responsible for making ribosome. So we say the ribosomal DNA, right? It's composed of DNA, it is composed of ribosomal DNA, it is composed of some RNA, right? And it is composed of certain proteins also, right? So this is the composition of your nucleolus. Clear, friends? The next important thing about this is that the nucleolus is a dynamic structure, and it means that it changes its shape a little bit. So we say that it is a dynamic structure, right? Then the fourth important point about the structure of the nucleolus is that it is composed of three important regions, right? Composed of three important regions. And what are those important regions? Let me mention them here with this green color. The first important region is this one, right? This one. the dense region or the fibrillar region. So let me write their name here. First of all, three important components, or either instead of region we should write important components, right? So the first component is the fibrillar component. Fibrillar component, right? Then the second component is your dense component, right? Yes, it is dense component, right? And the third important region that it contains is called the granular component. Granular component, right? So we once again say that the nucleolus is composed of three important components. And what are those components? The first, fibrillar component, the second one is dense component, and the third one is the granular component. And what are the functions of each of these components? What do they do? So the fibrillar component is mostly responsible for RNA transcription, right? So it is mostly responsible for RNA transcription, right? So it transcribes the RNA. How? Here is the DNA, right? You know that DNA has came out and has made this nucleolus. So it contains DNA, we have said that, right? From this DNA, RNA is transcribed. So the transcription of RNA occurs in the fibrillar region. Now I will mention that fibrillar region there, right? Then in the dense component, what happens that RNA processing occurs here, right? In the dense component, RNA processing occurs. So the dense component of the nucleolus is responsible for RNA processing, and the granular component is responsible for the ribosomal subunits assembly, right? So they perform ribosomal subunits assembly. Right. So these are the important three functions of these important regions of your nucleolus, right? Then we say what is the functions of this nucleolus? Functions. What does nucleolus do? So nucleolus, as I told you before, that it is mostly responsible to make the ribosome, right? So the functions of it is contain genes for, it contains genes for ribosomal DNA or ribosomes. We say ribosomes. How? As we know that it makes the ribosome. So the DNA which comes out of these two chromosomes which have come out, and the DNA is present here, and you know that DNA contains genes. So those genes will be responsible to make ribosomes, right? So it contains genes for ribosome. Then what is the next function of it? And the next function of it will be the ribosome synthesis. Ribosome synthesis, right? So it synthesizes ribosome, and the next function is site for NOR, nucleolar organizer region. Look carefully, friends. We know that here is a construction in this short arm of this chromosome. The short arm of this chromosome have construction from where the DNA comes out and make the nucleolus. So those constructed points are called the NOR, or nucleolar organizer region, right? So this was about the nucleolus. I hope you like the lecture. And the next important thing, we will say that which are the chromosomes which are responsible, what are the chromosomes which are responsible to make the nucleolus. So in the human body we have I told you that there are 5 chromosomes which are responsible to make this nucleolus. So there is chromosome number 13, there is chromosome number 14, right? Then there is chromosome number 15, then 21, and then 22. So these chromosomes will give the extensions of this DNA from the NOR, and this DNA will come out and will make the nucleolus, right? So once again, chromosome number 13, chromosome number 14, number 15, 21 and 22 will give their DNA, right? And that DNA will make the nucleolus there, right? Okay friends, then we say that let's mention these three important components in this nucleolus, right? So the first component was the fibrillar region, and our fibrillar region will be our fibrillar region is somewhat here, this black, if you can see here, this is our fibrillar region. So let me name it here, fibrillar region, right? So you know that this fibrillar region is mostly responsible for RNA transcription, right? Then there is the second region, and that is called the dense region. So the dense region is surrounding mostly this fibrillar region. So this red color shows the dense region, right? So this is the dense region, and it is mostly responsible for RNA processing. And then there is the granular region, right? This green color, as you can see here, this is our granular region. Done. So these are the three important regions of the nucleolus, and through these pores, the ribosomes which are formed inside here, through these pores the ribosomes will leave and will go towards their action where they are required, right? So friends, this was about the nucleolus and its structure. Inshallah, in the next lecture I will discuss about the structure and composition of DNA, right? What is DNA and what is it made from, right? So I hope you like the lecture. See you in the next lecture. Till then, Allah Hafiz.